Shiny hunting in Pokemon requires you to do the same action over and over again until a shiny Pokemon pops up. It's monotonous. This controller, one that I reviewed about a month ago, and one that I've been using a lot lately, the 8BitDo Pro 3, has been a favorite among Pokemon players because it has a hidden little macro functionality. You can program it to do certain monotonous tasks for you. You do it using the controller's desktop software. You kind of have to program it to do the macro. You can record your inputs, but only in the app and not in the game. I don't love this. The Pokemon player base already has guides set up on how to implement these macros on this controller, and it's pretty easy to set up. This controller is pretty decent for macros, and particularly for shiny hunting. But I think that there's something that's just way easier. If all you're looking to do is automate a simple task, this Gulikit KK3 Max might be a little bit easier for you. I've actually had this for quite a while, but I haven't taken it out of the box because I haven't had a reason to. So now's a good time. The reason I think this might be better than the 8BitDo Pro 3 in certain instances is because you can record the macro right here on the controller and then just play the inputs back. It's a lot easier to program for your specific use case. You don't have to wait for someone else to do the legwork for you and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not saying throw out your 8BitDo controls. I think that the Pro 3 is a phenomenal controller. I would opt to use that controller 90% of the time. But if it's specifically macros that you're after, then the Gulikit KK3 Max might be the way to go. And I'm surprised that the Pokemon community hasn't caught on to this yet. I made a video once before about automating tasks in games. That video is 5 years old now, but it's centered around the older versions of these two controllers, which I guess would still work just fine. In that video, I did a little bit of Pokemon, but I mostly focused on Animal Crossing. There's a lot of dumb stuff in that game that could be made way easier, like breaking up a rock and picking up all of its contents if you're trying to clean up your island. That could just be simplified into one button press, which was pretty sick. Right now, Pokemon players just want to spawn into the wild area of their choosing over and over again and look for shinies like you see here. You could do this with either controller. People are using the 8BitDo controller, which uses a little more trial and error, a little more finagling. The Pokemon community is big enough where users have already done the legwork for you, but my game is a little different because I haven't 100% of the game yet. So some of these macros just don't work for my game. And besides that, what if you want to do something unique? What if you want to continuously enter a certain area and run around a little bit? What if you want to have a controller play Mario for you? The whole level? What if you want to record your own tasks for any game? I'll tell you all about how this works and how it might be helpful for you, for Pokemon specifically, or any game really. You can apply this to anything. But first, you have to suffer through a Factor ad, sorry. This video is sponsored by Factor. Lunch break already? What you got there, Factor? Yeah, I leave a couple in the fridge here. That's cool. Let's see what my wife made me. Her favorite. Boiled eggs. Again. I think she forgot to boil them this time. Smells like she boiled them. Oh, that's right. I left them on my dashboard last night. Well, don't eat that. Please don't eat that. Please don't, okay? Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all that you have to do is heat and enjoy. Skip the grocery store's prep work and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-curated, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. They've expanded their menu quite a bit. They've got smoothies, juices, wellness shots, and breakfast, too. I'm okay. Please don't throw up. Please don't throw up, because if you throw up, Catherine's gonna throw up. She's a sympathetic vomiter. Please put that away. I got another Factor in the fridge for you. I'll give it to you, okay? Oh, thank God. I'll save this for dinner. Catherine, put this back on my dash, please. Thank you. You could pop it in the microwave if you're in a real hurry for just 2 minutes. Sometimes I forget to eat, so having Factor in the fridge and ready to go has kept me a little bit healthier. And maybe it can help you too. Go to factor75.com and use code YAHUNGRY, FB50, to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. That's factor75.com. Use code YAHUNGRY, FB50 for free breakfast for a year and 50% off. Wow. This actually has flavor. See, you don't need your wife to make you food all the time. Thank God. You know, she's been putting bleach in my coffee every morning. That's awful. Is everything okay at home? What? Yeah, you good? I've been using this 8BitDo controller for most games these days because it's just easy to pick up and connect to most of my devices. I have a video all about it. But it also comes with some very simple, cool features, and one thing that I found particularly useful for Pokemon is, believe it or not, Turbo. I did not think that I would like this new Pokemon game, but I've actually been enjoying building out my team and battling through the main story. I just don't like the story. The dialogue is bad and boring as hell. So I just blast through it with Turbo. It could be enabled in the Ultimate software on a computer. I set the share button to be a turbo toggle. Then I just hold A and press turbo once, and it rapidly fires the A button so I can blast through that dialogue. It makes this little baby game a little more bearable. That's just one of the super simple things that I've been doing. I've been streaming this over on Twitch, and Philly Beats entered the chat. He's a Pokemon YouTuber. But before he was a Pokemon YouTuber, he was just some guy that came up to me at a bar once and said, "Oh my God, you're Asmongold." Now he's a fucking Pokemon YouTuber. He told me everybody's been using this controller for Pokemon. I said, why? He said, for the macros. I said, why? Then he showed me this whole Excel spreadsheet of all the different wild zones. There's a macro for each wild zone. So if you're shiny hunting in wild zone 12, for example, you can go to that tab on the spreadsheet. There are two ways to install this macro. You can just type it in yourself, go to the Ultimate software, go to the macros section, and just record the macro yourself based off of the example image that's in the Excel spreadsheet. You will then also have to go back in and adjust all of the timings based on how they are in that example image. It's a bit annoying. There is a bit of an easier way to do this. Each wild zone also has an INI file that you can just download and place it in this location in your 8BitDo Ultimate software folder. It will then show up as a macro the next time you open that software on your computer. I apply these macros to the back buttons on the controller, and then you're good to go. These macros will use the area menu to continuously load you into a location over and over and over again. The game will hold the shiny Pokemon in its memory and spawn new Pokemon in around it. It can store up to 10 shinies at once. You will realistically never hit 10 shinies at once. Loading just one shiny is incredibly rare. It's about a 1 in 4,000 chance without the shiny charm to even just get one shiny. Even with the shiny charm, it's about a 1 in 1,000 chance. You would have to leave this running for a really, really long time, which you can do. I actually like this method that they have. Pokemon only spawn within a 50-meter radius, so you don't really get that many Pokemon spawning in with this method. But since you're not really moving around, the day and night cycle that happens every once in a while will have less of a chance to break your loop. So you could potentially leave this running forever. I'm only about halfway through the game though. I've spent about 12, 13, 14 hours playing this damn game, and I can't use any of the methods that they have in this Excel spreadsheet because these methods use the area menu, so it assumes that you have all of the areas unlocked, which obviously I don't have. If you don't have all of the areas unlocked, you'll obviously be missing some stuff in the menu. So when I use the Wild Zone 12 macro, it just shoots me to whatever Pokemon Center is in that spot on the list. So if I want to do this macro myself without having unlocked every area, I would have to figure out how many milliseconds each line item takes up in the macro and all that. So I tried my hand at making my own macro here. This is for Wild Area 9 on my game because I don't have everything unlocked. But I have a clever little workaround. We're going to be opening up the travel spots menu and we're going to be sorting and resorting so that everything resets. And then we're going to be hitting down on the D-pad a bunch of times till I get to Wild Zone 9. And these are the intervals that I used. Philly Beats Excel spreadsheet did help a lot. The intervals that are important here are these last few A button presses. They need to be like this. And then this very last one, this is a delay for the loading screen. So you want it to be between 3,000 to 5,000 milliseconds so that it'll repeat.
So basically just copy this for your game and hit the down arrow as many times as you need to get to the wild zone that you want. 100 milliseconds per down arrow button press and 200 milliseconds for the release. That's what this grayed out arrow is. I gotta tell you, this whole thing was a huge pain in the ass. I mean, once you do it once, it's like fine, you'll figure it out, but wouldn't it be great if we could just do it live?
So here's the Gulikit controller. I first tried this with the KK3 Pro, which is a different controller than the KK3 Max. They are virtually the same. The Pro is just slightly cheaper. However, I would not recommend the Pro for this. The Pro can only record very, very short macros. It only records for a maximum of 10 seconds, which is not all that long comparatively. You couldn't walk all the way through a wild area with just 10 seconds. So get the KK3 Max. At the time of writing, this was only $6 more on Amazon. I didn't do a whole video on this controller because I really didn't think it was all that much different than the last KK controller that I already made a video on. But some of the features that had that this still also has that I really liked is the keyboard-like linear switches under the buttons. It has a really smooth ring around the sticks, so that feels really good, and the sticks are Hall effect. There's also, and I just noticed this now, a dongle in the box. So you don't have to connect it to Bluetooth. You can just plug in the dongle. It's an overall great controller. I just usually opt to use the 8BitDo controller because it has the D-pad on the top. And I play a lot of 2D indie games and stuff. So having the D-pad on the top is very helpful. And I like the 8BitDo dock that it comes with. It makes it easy to connect to basically everything. But I broke out the Gulikit specifically because I knew the macros would be good. So to record a macro on this controller, you simply hold this button right here until you feel a vibration. Now the macro is recording. Now you just do your thing. Move around, do whatever you want. For my first macro, I entered a wild area and ran around a bit, being sure to look around and try to generate as many Pokemon as I could, so I can listen for that shiny sound. It also helps to go into the menu and turn the music off. Then, when I was done, I fast traveled to the same wild area so the macro can now loop. Now, the macro's done. To play it back, you either press the macro button once, or if you double tap it, it will loop forever. Since we started this from a fast travel location and ended it with fast traveling back to where that fast travel location drops you off, this should theoretically loop forever. This is pretty impressive. There's a lot of movements going on here, and this would be a huge pain in the ass to program into the 8BitDo controller. The biggest issue with this loop that I've created here is that wild Pokemon can attack you. They can move you around, and they can stop you from fast traveling. I actually died a few times, and that obviously breaks the loop. The other downside is the day and night cycle. Since the macro is so long and convoluted, when the day-night cycle pops, the controller is still playing the inputs. When it comes out of that day or night cycle animation, you're gonna be in a random point in the macro, so it's not gonna work anymore. The solution is to just either be near your Switch so you can tell when the cycle breaks, or do what the Philly Beats community did and just use the area menu. That way you're limiting the amount of movement that you had. So if the day or night cycle happens, it might not break the macro. You're spending more time in the area menu than you are in the actual real world. Eventually, I just picked a very small and dense wild area, and I just ran straight through the wild area. And that spawns all the Pokemon around you. There's less of a chance for the wild Pokemon to attack you. And this is the day-night cycle breaking it, now that I'm just talking about it. Okay, so since the area is small enough, that day-night cycle actually didn't break the loop, so it's still going. Also, when you make it all the way through and outside of the wild area, the alpha Pokemon that's attacking you can't attack you anymore, so you can then fast travel again. So going directly through is not a bad option if you're going to be near your Switch. Again, I like this because it generates a lot of Pokemon, and I think it's a lot more fun. So I just leave this running, and I play Ball X Pit and Idol Slayer in another window until the loop breaks. Then I check for shinies. If there's no shinies, then I loop it back and go back to Ball X Pit.
I left this running during the podcast that we just did, and I got 3 whole shinies.
We're so proud of him.
Oh my god, it's a shiny alpha.
Oh, boy!
It's a skidoo.
He's just adding words.
There's potential. Oh, there's another one! And it's an alpha Esper. That is also shiny, I think.
Splinter Cell 1, thinking I would love it, and
I got
it's...
a shiny Pikachu!
I tried Splinter Cell 1, thinking I would love it, and it's okay.
I'm extremely impressed with how intricate we can get with these macros. You can pretty much program your guy to do whatever you want. In older turn-based Pokemon games, I remember recording macros to do battles for me. I did manage to record the first Mario level, World 1-1, and it worked, but it only worked maybe every other time. I tried looping it, going back to the main menu and starting the game over again when it was done, but it would break every other run. And this happens with basically every macro controller that I've ever used. And my assumption is that this is some sort of timing issue. This controller has a polling rate of 1000 hertz. It's probably realistically not hitting 1000 hertz all of the time. A game like Mario, for example, is only accepting inputs 60 times per second. The game is running on a clock, and the controller is running a lot faster than that. So if the controller sends an input a frame too early or a frame too late, that could break the whole cycle. Or what's more likely is the internal clock on this thing just isn't that good, and it's not that accurate. That could be the thing too. All I know is that doing anything that requires any sort of intricate timing probably isn't going to be perfect for you. Like, for example, even like a Smash Brothers combo, you're not going to be nailing that every single time. But a simple game like Pokemon or Animal Crossing, those would be just fine.
I found a shiny while I was filming. I heard it over here somewhere. It's my second shiny Skidoo.
You can store multiple macros in this controller somehow. You could also share the macro file from this controller to other people with the same controller. But I haven't messed around with that. I think recording the macro yourself is just so easy. Why bother going through all that other trouble? If you feel like hunting in Wild Zone 12, just make the macro once you get there and loop it. If you feel like doing Wild Zone 7 today, record one there. It's that simple. Why even bother plugging it into the computer and downloading something? There are some very specific areas that Pokemon fans have discovered very simple macros you can do, even with just a regular controller that doesn't have a macro function. Here's Wood doing the rubber band macro with a regular Pro controller in Wild Zone 3.
Okay, I'll be back.
If it works, it works. I remember people doing this in Sword and Shield to gain XP or something, just running around in a circle. I'm not trying to convince you to get the Gulikit controller. If you have the 8-Bit Do Pro 3, it's probably fine. Save your money. You can get it to work. It just requires some tweaking. But if you want to buy something specifically for macros, I think the Gulikit KK3 Max is the clear winner. It's easy to program, and you can do insanely long and intricate macros with this. Just make sure it's the max that you're getting. Let's see, did I get any shinies? Is that gold? Oh my god! Oh my god, a shiny! I got a shiny while we were recording. Anyway, what do you guys think about using macro controllers? Come here. I got a shiny right here. What are some other use cases for this controller that I didn't think of in this video? Maybe some other games you can use this for. Leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, any and all this other social media garbage. I stream on twitch.tv/Wulff and some of this stuff. You can go into the chat over there and talk to me there, give me some suggestions there. But the most important way you can support this channel is support our sponsor, Thank You Factor. And subscribe, please, and share this video with a friend who plays a lot of Pokemon and could use some help. Thank you very much. Have a good week.